Hey, what's going on, guys? It's the Stacking 3%er. Today's Thursday, March 15th, 2018. Not really going to talk much about the market today. Just going to go over a few headlines here and then talk about an article that I thought was pretty interesting. So, as you can see, up at the top, as soon as we load here, metals are down slightly. Let's just hit a couple of these headlines. So, Trump touting his new White House economic advisor, Kudlow, of course. U.S. pressing China to cut trade surplus by $100 billion. It's out of the White House. Prices hit a 4-week low. Bitcoin, we know about that. Gold price is weaker on little risk aversion and a firmer U.S. dollar. Weekly jobless claims fall by 4,000. Gold prices remain on the defensive. U.S. import prices rising. Oil inching up. Gold slipping to daily lows on a firmer U.S. dollar. Larry Kudlow recommends selling gold and buying the king dollar. Analysts, not so much. I actually read that. I thought it was a really stupid comment he made. The Dow rising. I don't even know where it's at right now, but that's okay. Today, not too terribly much going on. White House seeking to make personal income tax cuts permanent. I think that's pretty cool. Why I'm enthusiastic about silver. Another expert here suggesting that silver's staging to go to $20 to $22 an ounce in the next year and a half or so. I thought that was interesting. But what I'm going to be talking about today primarily is 90% constitutional silver, or what's otherwise known as junk silver. This, a lot of the old school stackers probably know about. Of course, that's quarters, dimes, and half dollars. U.S. money, of course, that were minted 1964 and before. So everything before 1965, basically. And this is out of silverdoctors.com. I have some junk silver. My dad has a bunch of junk silver. And, a lot of people, like, these coins aren't in circulation anymore for the most part. They can be, they are, but it's very, very rare to come across these coins from that time period anymore, because they do have 90% silver in them. And I thought that this guy's take on the matter was really, really interesting, and some cool information about how junk silver is very still useful, valuable, and you can get it for pretty darn cheap. So I'm going to dive into this and pretty much read through the whole thing. It's going to go quick. So yeah, let's get right into it here, you guys. So there has been a major development in the silver market that needs to be shared. Here are the details and what it means for investors. And this guy is saying that he got some very valuable information from one of the largest coin refiners and wholesalers in the world. He said he's not going to name who they are because it was a casual conversation and not for a formal interview. But getting to it, he says there is something major going on right now in the silver market in general, and specifically with the pre-1965 half dollars, quarters, and dimes we commonly call 90% constitutional silver or junk silver. And he says, first, a bit of background. It is legal to melt down 90% silver coins, but it is illegal to melt down pennies or nickels. Read about that for yourself here at the U.S. Mint's website. He says essentially there was a ban from melting down silver coinage from 1967 to 69. Many people mistakenly think it is illegal to melt down old silver coinage, but it is not. That ban was only temporary. He says, why is it illegal to melt down pennies and nickels, but it is legal to melt down pre-1964 silver coinage? Because silver is not a metal used in circulation with our current coinage. Sure, there is the American Silver Eagle bullion coin, or the 5-ounce, 25-cent value America the Beautiful silver coins, but we're talking day-to-day use of coinage that actually circulates at their current face values. Copper, zinc, and nickel, you see, are still used in our coinage in day-to-day transactions. So as the U.S. Mint puts it, in an effort to not cause a shortage of coinage. Geez, that's a tongue twister. Shortage of coinage, and therefore adversely affect the monetary base supply. Those metals, aka the penny and the nickel, are basically prohibited from both melting and from exporting. In regards to silver, however, since 1969, it's been legal to melt down this 90% silver. When was the last time anybody ever received a 90% silver coin randomly as part of their change? As long as I have known about silver, I have made efforts to use cash in hopes of receiving one in change, but I never have. I pull out my copper pennies and set them aside, and even those are becoming harder and harder to find in circulation, at least in my unscientific experience. And of course, that goes on with time. My dad has told me stories about how he and a friend used to get rolls of quarters and rolls of pennies from the bank, pick out the ones that were pre-1965, pick out the wheatback pennies, and then whatever's left, they would return to the bank and get more, and became collectors that way. So very interesting what we're discussing here. So he's getting back on track here. This refiner is now melting down 90% silver coinage because the silver is worth more as melt than it is as silver coins sold in the open market. This is another sign that we're very close to the bottom. Let that sink in for a moment. It is more profitable to go through the extra effort to melt down the 90% and sell it as melt than it is to sell as silver coinage. I'm a big believer in 90%, and now I'm even more of a believer. Why? Because all of the pre-1965 90% that has ever been minted is all the supply there will ever be. It is a finite amount. It's not like a generic round refiner wholesaler pumping out millions and millions of generic silver rounds to meet demand. Nope. With 90%, what you see is what you get. So now the fundamentals are in our favor with respect to this 90%. Think about it. Supply has been forever taken off the market by this refiner and wholesaler. I have yet to find out if other refiners are doing the same thing. I was given a dollar amount of pre-1965 silver coinage that has been melted down, and this guy says about $200,000 face value. No, I didn't ask if those were Merc dimes or Rosies or Washington quarters or anything like that. I just let it sink in for a moment, and I suggest you let it sink in for a moment too, that this company, at least one of them, are making more money by going through the extra steps of melting down their 90% constitutional silver and selling it for wholesale than they are selling the 90% as silver coinage. And this guy goes on to say, I know, so I'm bracing for it now, but $50, that's not a lot of silver. You're right. That's only 143,000 ounces of silver, I guess, in circulation or out there. Each $1 face value contains 0.715 ounces of silver, but the amount isn't the point, it's the fundamentals. It bears repeating, pun intended, because we're witnessing yet another sign that we're near the end of this nasty silver and gold bear market. There's now more U.S. debt-based fiat currency that can be made in going through the extra effort to melt down the silver coins than there is in selling the coins as coinage. And here's a few things you need to know about 90% silver coinage. It goes on. First of all, it's usually the first type of silver to dry up when the physical market gets tight and silver coins come into high demand. You see, private mints can just ramp up production, and unless we're talking about limited mintage silver coins like the 5-ounce ATBs, sovereign mints can just ramp up their production to meet demand as well with regards to their bullion coin offerings. But when it comes to 90%, availability is all based on the willingness of the owners of the coinage and where they are willing to meet in order to get the coins to the market. Right now, there's a willingness to sell 90% pre-65 coins and at basically any price. That is the whole point of this article. When demand comes into the silver space, the premium paid on 90% silver can spike if the holders are unwilling to let go of their silver in a tight market. When silver eagles were on ration at the end of 2015 and throughout the first half of 2016, I recall seeing premiums spiking higher on the 90%. Here's a chart showing the premium increase during the tight market in mid-2015 through 16. You can see this tightening here, and of course up here as well. Goes on to say that that's my second point about 90%. The silver coinage is literally guaranteed to increase in value, not just based on the price of silver, but also because of the premium. And notice how that premium is historically low right now. Here in early March of 2018, constitutional silver can be had right now for very little over spot price. But once the market turns, that will not be the case, and investors can enjoy both the appreciation of the silver and the increase in the premium in the 90% silver coinage market. Finally, we often can look at the 90% market as a harbinger of things to come. Pre-1964 silver coinage is a market gauge. It tells us the health of the silver market. Right now, 90% is telling us that we are at the bottom of the market. Things are about as bleak as ever, especially with regards to sentiment. There's plenty of 90% available, and it is dirt cheap. And I was looking at this today, and you can get about 7.5 ounces of junk silver for $120 right now, compared to getting a 10-ounce bar for about $170. So it is super cheap. It was only about 40 cents premium over spot, which is incredibly cheap. And I'm thinking about buying some more junk silver after reading this article here. So he says, so of course, watch the premiums on 90%. As demand comes back into the market, the premiums will rise on 90% pre-1965 silver coinage. If premiums are rising in price of more than $1 by the time dealers are able to restock and supply their offerings, then we can decipher that the market is getting tighter. In other words, there are more buyers of the silver than there are sellers, so the dealers have to offer more in premium to entice the owners to sell to satisfy the demand. And he goes on to say that we didn't even get into the usefulness of pre-1965 silver coinage in the end of the world as we know it / post shit hit the fan barter situation. That's a topic for another day. For now, here's just another sign of a complete and total capitulation in the silver market. Stack accordingly. Very, very interesting article here out of Silver Doctors today, you guys. Like I said, I own a little bit of junk silver, but this is definitely attracting me to it a little bit more. And he makes some great, great points and arguments here. The fact that it is a finite market, it is, there is a very limited supply of these coins. If you can buy, from the websites like APMEX and JM Bullion, you can buy bulk junk silver. You always have a chance of getting like a really rare coin that could be worth $5, $8, $10 or more, in addition to this silver content. So yeah, hope you guys found today's video interesting. It's pretty much it for today. Be sure to like, subscribe, check out stocktwits.com/stacking3percenter, talkmarkets.com/contributor/stacking3percenter for all of my content. Like and subscribe on YouTube. Additionally, guys, if you make it to the end of the video, I wanted to just say that, believe it or not, aside from my passion for gold and silver and the stock market and, global current events and such, I do have other hobbies. I'm an avid gym goer. I try and stay in the best shape possible. That goes along with being a 3%er and just, being physically fit, physically well, mentally as well. But I have other hobbies. I play World of Warcraft every now and then. I'm a huge Dragon Ball Super fan, Dragon Ball Z, throwback. I was thinking about possibly making some Dragon Ball Super related videos in the future just to kind of give some thoughts about the show. If anybody is watching it, there's a lot of news lately about Dragon Ball in general. Movie coming out in December, shoe line coming out with Adidas. So just throwing it out there. I'm still young at heart here, even though I talk about sometimes some pretty boring stuff to a lot of people anyways. So if you guys are interested in any of that stuff, let me know. Reach out to me on StockTwits on on YouTube. So yeah, guys, hope you enjoyed the video. Happy Thursday. The week's coming to an end. probably do a market update, full review tomorrow. So yeah, guys, hope you have a good rest of your week. As always, keep on stacking. Thanks, everybody.